At the beginning of this, maybe I was more skeptical. As the days have gone on, I'm not sure what I think anymore.
I felt that maybe it wouldn't affect me if I personally didn't believe in it.
So, knowing what you know now, would you still get cursed?
I'm seeking out a curse, a hex, to put on myself.
A curse could end your life. You're literally begging the devil to knock on your door just to prove to you that God's real.
He could curse you with stupidity, but we think you got that down.
Despite the warnings, I'm investigating the real-world effects of dark magic.
Looks like you have a lot of love and a lot of opportunity. You are going to cause damage to that.
How do you feel after doing this?
Evil.
That must be quite seductive.
That's the power you're calling on. The devil, right? Quite seductive.
I'm going to enter into a pact with Satan.
Señor Satán, Lucifer, presentamos a este hermano. Con tu fuego purifica.
Wyong is pretty much the epicenter of all black magic. People are very scared to even talk about it.
Y'all better not call me at 2 o'clock in the morning talking about this man is dead. I don't want to hear that.
I have this physical feeling that something bad is coming. What have I done?
You're going to have to find faith in this in order to undo it.
Top of the morning. It's 1:05, I'm bullshit, so good afternoon, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna make this quick, short and sweet. I ain't gonna lie to you, it's gonna be like, it's the first time I'm gonna do this, so I don't know, I'm gonna see what the response is gonna be like. I might do this some more, but I was just kinda sitting here thinking. And thank you to those who came out last night to Alston's House of Voodoo for the new moon, the new buck moon event. We watched a movie last night called The Cursed Man, and I kind of just wanted to touch on my review of it. You know, last night we all kind of got to sit together and talk as a community, and there's a few people that was here to you know, express what we thought about, what we took from the movie, and so on and so forth. And you know, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's worth watching. Whether you're looking for a quick laugh or some education, it is some things to take from that movie. It definitely is. First and foremost, though, I want to give a shout out to Emmecca, the Divine Prince, and Miss Lilith Dorsey. Shout out to Miss Lilith Dorsey. She's a great author. Y'all should definitely go pick up some of them books. Y'all keep asking how to find out or how to do certain things in spirituality. Read. Do the research, take notes, and read. You know what I'm saying? You heard what they said. You want to hide something from a nigga, put it in a book. So take that, what was said, put that in your mind, break that down, and start looking in these books. That's going to give you a lot of game. And shout out to Emmecca, the Divine Prince, because I think he spoke for all of us in that movie when he told that man, like, there's got to be some privileged, stupid shit for you to come and ask what you asking. But yeah, man, so basically, just a quick breakdown of what the movie about. Basically, this man named Liam from the UK, he sets out on an adventure to try and prove to himself that magic is real, because he was a disbeliever his whole life, or whatever the case. You know, certain things stuck out to him, attracted to him, but he never had something that made him look at magic and be like, okay, this is real. It's a reality. We're in a world full of magic. It's a lot of things. But so he sets out on this journey to try to find a practitioner to put a curse on him, so that way he can find out how real shit get. Basically, he want to fuck around and find out. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole gist of the movie. Liam wants to fuck around and find out. And so he embarks to different places. He goes to New Orleans. He tries to get through his voodoo, you know, get through the voodoo people to put some shit on him. He goes to his Wiccans, the pagans, try to get them to put shit on him. He travels a lot of different places and kind of gets a lot of the same answers. Like I said, Emmecca, when he went to Emmecca and asked Emmecca to do it, Emmecca kind of like, boy, you got your rabbit ass mind. Why does it take you getting cursed to believe that this is real versus, you know what I'm saying, you could have asked for a blessing, you could have asked for a miracle, brother. But this man's response, because he's so privileged, is like, I feel like a miracle is something that's a regular day-to-day thing and happens regularly. Like, nigga, you gotta be the most spoon-fed motherfucker say some shit like that. That's crazy as hell. You can't, a motherfucker couldn't make $1 million pop up in your pocket doing magic, you feel me, to make you believe it's real, right? Because you just got miracles like that every day going on. I refuse to believe that, dude. Okay, I know it's some privileged people out here, but my man, if you could wish for a bag, if a bag falling out the sky every damn day for you, then boy, hey, I need you around me. Okay, we need to be talking. You know what I'm saying? We need to be best friends. And so, like Emmecca tell him, you know, like, you know, that's some privileged shit. Like, I wake up dealing with being black every day. I wake up with that, what's good with it? I wake up with that curse, you know what I'm saying, every day, and dealing with the bullshit of wishing I could have them everyday miracles like you seeing is a regular day-to-day occurrence for you. We don't have that where we from. We got people coming to us on a regular begging to get curses taken off of them. If you really got a curse, you know what I'm saying, motherfuckers is doing everything they can to get that shit up off of them. Not walking around here asking somebody to put a curse on them. I got you, brother. Shoot it to my DM. So I can support you, know what? But like I was saying, not running around here asking for somebody to put a curse on them just so they can find out if this shit real or not. I mean, there's a lot of things around you to show you this shit real. Just pay attention, open your eyes. And so, boom. Everybody keep telling dude no. Everybody ain't trying to hear that shit. Eventually, he finds somebody to, you know, play with him. And what people gotta understand, first off, because I ain't trying to spoil the whole movie, so I ain't even finna do all that. But, like I said, we'll end it at that. He found somebody to put some bullshit on him. And so, what people fail to realize, half of this shit is a mind over matter type of thing, you feel me? Where you believe, where you put your faith, is where you can make things happen. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, you got energy, you have elements, you have a lot of things that you can work with, alchemy, whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? That's some more shit for another day. It's knowledge for another day. But there's a lot of things that could be manipulated and worked with to make things happen. But at the end of the day, the root to it is either gonna be, especially if you ain't born with it, I guess you could say, if it's not something that was a sharper sense when you came out the womb, because that was a gift that you were supposed to have. And even for those that got it, it's still a mental thing too. You know what I'm saying? If your mind ain't focused on the task at hand and getting it done, you feel me? Like, sometimes shit ain't gonna get done. That's just life. And so, if you believe it to yourself that it's only gonna take a curse to get you to believe that magic is real, then when somebody tell your punk ass they done cursed you, imagine what your mind is gonna make your psyche do, your body do. It'll make your psyche believe, or make your body believe. You feel me? Because once you go to sleep, it's still the psyche, the consciousness, all that's still going, brother. So you have tricked yourself into believing that you may be cursed. And so when you get to seeing shit, or shit gets to fucking up for you, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, they got me, the devil on me. Nigga, no, bro. You ask, you shall receive. You feel me? Ain't nobody got to put nothing on you. But you putting that out your mouth, I want to be, you keep playing. You keep playing. Ain't nobody got to say nothing. You done already cursed your path you walking by even speaking that bullshit. But at the same time, a lot of this shit is entertainment. So a lot of people got to put on a show. You know what I mean? A lot of people got to play their role. A lot of people got to make it seem as if what it's not, man. Magic's an everyday thing, man. You know what I'm saying? You got people out here that can make magic happen with no tools because they are the tool. You are the talismans at times. But for those that refuse or that just don't have it, don't know, don't, whatever the case may be, I'm not the one to say what it is. Stop going to the furthest extremes to try and prove to yourself some shit that is most likely being proven and been proven 100 times in your face throughout your life, but you fail to recognize it and realize it and look at it for what it is. Whether you call it being blessed, whatever. It is what it is. Stop trying to, oh man, I wanna whoop, 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 did it, like, it's, man. I feel like it's a lot of our problems. Instead of opening our eyes and believing what's in front of us, for what it is, yeah, it may be more to some things, but instead of believing what's broken down for what it is in front of us, we'll overly question, we'll overly analyze it, we'll overly add too much bullshit to it, and it ain't even all that. Life is simple, we overcomplicate it as humans. I'm just being honest, And that's where we block ourselves off from receiving or seeing what is meant for us to see or receive. For us to get the answers that we need to give to move forward and fulfilling this thing called life and living this thing called life, because you only get one. You know what I'm saying? And you can't run from death. So you accept both and walk that line, man. That's it. Don't be Liam Nelson. Don't be Liam out here. I say Liam Nelson because he fucking around talking that bullshit, thinking we was gonna take him serious till his ass got taken for real. But don't be Liam. Do not be Liam. Do not be out here having to see the most extremist bullshit happen for you to believe. Just believe. Or if you don't believe, you don't believe. That's on you. So keep it over there. Don't even try to question it. Like Granny always told me, even if you're Christian, Baptist, whatever. Like Granny told me, don't question God. Don't question. Don't question nothing. It's no coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. If it's supposed to happen, it's supposed to happen. Either your goofy ass put yourself in that position for it to happen, or damn well you wasn't supposed to be over there, or it was supposed to happen. Leave it at that. If your ass is cursed, you gonna know you cursed. Stop playing, man. Everybody else stop playing. Stop playing with yourself. Stop playing with your life. You feel me? Just pay attention. Pay attention, man. So that's that. That's my review for the curse, man. Good film. I give it a good about 6.5, maybe 7 out of 10, because of those that I mentioned and a lot of the education and gems that were in the movie. I will give it that. It is something to take from. But at the end of the day, Liam did a great job making a spiritual comedy, because that's what it was. It was a spiritual comedy. He did a very good job. I'm telling you, he had me cracking up the whole night. That poor white man there is hilarious. Y'all need to go check him out. Show Liam some love. If you haven't seen the movie, like I said, that is The Cursed Man on Amazon Prime. I think you can get it. And if you have, what's your take on it? You know what I'm saying? You let me know how you felt about it. You let me know what you took from it. Let's talk about it, okay? So that'll be my today for, New Moon movie review with Woo. I appreciate y'all. Much love. Blessing, man. I'll be down at Aspen House of Voodoo for any other questions and further debates, details about.
Greetings, honor and respect. It is another edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. Voodoo Hoodoo 101. powered by, supported by, sponsored by NOIVD, New Orleans International Voodoo Day. Please visit us at www.vodouday, again, www.vodouday.org for more information and coming updates about our annual International New Orleans Voodoo Day. Our beloved Elder Reggie will come forward in a moment and share more information about updates about one of our marker installations for the 1866 Freedmen's March marker unveiling. And we'll talk more about that momentarily. We're certainly grateful and appreciative of those who show up here in this space for our live podcast, weeknights at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Greetings, Nina Lloyd. Thank you so much for showing up. Daniel Neal, thank you for your continued support and participation. And to our co-host, Elder Reggie Green Soap, thank you so much for your continued participation and commitment to the podcast, as well as Queen Mother, Sister Toni Val Martinez. Joshua is possibly on the way. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. We last left off in the conversation about Obeah laws in the aftermath of Taki's revolt. Rather than focusing on a particular diviner, a set of diviners, or divinatory practices, we're going to address the ideas of divination more generally in a political context. Taki's revolt, a series of uprisings in the 1760s, shows how even an ambiguous notion of divination led to anti-Obeah legislation that fundamentally altered the role of divination in future uprisings and even more modern perceptions of Obeah in Jamaica. Taki's revolt, sometimes called Taki's rebellion or Taki's war, was the most significant rebellion that enslaved people instigated in the Caribbean between 1733 insurrection on St. John and the 1791 Haitian Revolution. In terms of its shock to the imperial system, scholars have suggested that only the American Revolution surpassed Taki's revolt in the 18th century, and that it was the most dangerous slave revolt in the British Empire until the Baptist War of Samuel Sharp in 1831 to 1832, which also occurred in Jamaica. Over 500 lives were lost during the set of rebellions that made up Taki's revolt all over Jamaica. Over 500 captured rebels were transported to the Bay of Honduras, and the destruction caused an estimate over 100,000 francs, many millions in today's currency. After the revolt, the Jamaican Colonial Assembly commenced a lengthy and brutal process of restoring order in Jamaica, including a number of draconian laws to regulate enslaved Africans more carefully. One of the most interesting features of these laws was that despite the relatively minor role of diviners and Obeah men and women in Taki's revolt compared to other rebellions, the ensuing legislation banned the practice of Obeah. The aftermath of Taki's revolt shows a shift in colonial attitudes towards Obeah and divination, after which the planter classes viewed Obeah as a more explicit threat, not because of any intrinsic threat posed by Africana sacred knowledge, but as a signifier of the intent to rebel. Landowners were paranoid, and the enslaved Africans working on their plantations were in fact plotting rebellion. By working through Taki's revolt and its aftermath, the attempts to show how the shock of such a massive uprising combined with administrative misbeliefs concerning African practices and fundamentally altered the role divination would play in future uprisings. The ensuing legislation extended fears about the obia and divination that started with the First Maroon War and featured in Taki's revolt, providing insight into colonial attitudes about African sacred knowledge and European witchcraft in a way that could never have occurred in England proper. Taki's revolt is best understood as a set of rebellions, hence why it is sometimes called Taki's War. Authorities saw the revolt as a coordinated island-wide conspiracy led by a secret network of enslaved Akan people. They were called Coromantes from the area around Coromansi in what is now South Central Ghana. In Jamaica, Coromanti was a broad label for many of the enslaved persons coming from the Gold Coast, but participants in Taki's revolt have been identified as coming mostly from subgroups of the Akan people, especially Ashanti and Fanti persons, including Taki himself. It might be possible to speculate about Taki's revolt from the point of view of Akan diaspora formation because it was aimed at establishing Jamaica as an independent African state, but that speculation might be done cautiously. Jamaican planter and historian Edward Long claimed that almost all enslaved Coromantes on the island were involved without any suspicion from the whites. This is certainly an exaggeration, as there is evidence that some enslaved Coromantes were displaced by rebel attacks in Western Jamaica. Edward Long should also be recognized as an anti-Coromante writer. He later supported a ban on all imports of enslaved people from the Gold Coast because he feared they were too militaristic and rebellious by nature. But his obsessive record keeping still makes him a valuable source when read with caution. His records do highlight how general fears about enslaved Africans and their cultures led to extreme and misdirected punitive measures following any outburst. Nevertheless, Taki and his co-conspirators' ability to inspire loyalty among so many enslaved Akan people in Jamaica should attest to his skills as a leader. Furthermore, it should suggest some retention of Akan identity in Jamaica. Indeed, Long claims that Akan culture obliterated any other African customs in Jamaica, and non-Akan Africans tended to assimilate into the majority Akan population. I want to note the same thing was said about the Yoruba in Cuba, absorbing all other ethnic tribes and traditions and practices, and then subsequently developing Santeria and Lukumi as we know them today. And although this is a remarkable point in itself, this should also hint at some transmission and deployment of shared magical religious practices. Taki was from the Fanti ethnic group and had been a paramount chief, possibly a king or a warlord in Fanti land before he was captured and enslaved. He recalled selling rival Ashanti, Nzima, and Ahanta ethnic groups off into slavery in battle by a rival state. After arriving in Jamaica, Taki assimilated a small following of mostly fellow Akan with whom he met in secret and conspired for over a year before striking. Taki and his lieutenants planned to take over Jamaica from the British and to create a new African state. Meanwhile, Apango had been a military leader in West Africa before he too was defeated and captured. Apango was renamed Wagger because he was brought to Jamaica on his HMS Wagger, but he reclaimed the name Apango when the Western Revolt began. Apongo, like Taggy, hoped to seize Jamaica from the British and create a new African state. Both men were also inspired by the First Maroon War, when the Ashanti, Queen Nanny, successfully defended against the British, and they hoped to liberate all of Jamaica, like Nanny had done for her own followers. The actions that composed Tacky's revolt may generally be viewed in two parts, both beginning on April 7th, 1760. In eastern Jamaica, Tacky and his followers began the revolt, took over the frontier and Trinity plantations, and stole munitions or ammunitions from Fort Haldane before they continued their assault. In western Jamaica, rebels from all over the island, united under Apongo, attacked plantations in Westmoreland and Hanover parishes, and continued to push through the island after Apongo was killed and a man called Simon assumed leadership. Allegedly, both groups of rebels planned to overthrow British rule and establish an African kingdom in Jamaica. Colonial records disagree about how much of the Western battles can be attributed to Tacky's cunning and strategy, or whether Apongo and Simon's actions should be viewed separately. Most of this chapter is devoted to Tacky's group simply because captive rebels associated with Tacky provide more evidence for obeah and divination. Not to suggest that this divination was responsible for the relative success or failure of either groups, nor that it was not used by Apongo's men. In fact, the similar cultural and political backgrounds of Tacky and Apongo and the composition of their followers suggest that similar types of divination should be found in both groups. Tacky and his followers begin their work sometimes before daybreak on April 7th, 1760, Easter Monday, and according to J.A. Jones, a British officer who attempted to study Tacky but was instead taken by Tacky as captive, Tacky had been planning to revolt for over a year along with some named comrades. Qua, Q-U-A-W, Qua, font T-E-Qua, Sang, S-A-N-G, Sang, Sabado, S-O-B-A-D-O-U, Sabado, Twi Sabado, meaning he was from the Twi ethnic group. Fula, Jati, Fula, F-U-L-A, Jati, J-A-T-I, and Quanti, Q-U-A-N-T-E-E, or Twi, T-W-I, Quanteg, K-W-A-R-T-E-N-G, Twi Quanteg, and others referred to only as obeah men. Most of these rebels come from Trinity Plantation, but also from Whitehall, Frontier, and Hayward Hall in and around Port Maria in St. Mary Parish. After they easily took over the Frontier and Trinity plantations, killing their former enslavers and gaining a new sense of confidence, the rebels attacked and made their way to the storeroom at Fort Haldane, where the ammunitions to defend the town of Port Maria were kept. Tacky and his men stole nearly 4 barrels of gunpowder and 40 firearms, which shot before marching on to overrun the plantations at Hayward Hall and Esher. By dawn, hundreds more had joined Tacky as they crushed plantation after plantation and marched south to Ballard Valley, where the now nearly 400 rebels stopped to rejoice. However, one man had been enslaved at Esher, slipped away to notify the local authorities. Edward Long identifies this man as Yankee and claims that he ran to a neighboring estate because he wanted to defend his master's house and assist the white man. In Tacky's camp, obeah men allegedly dispensed a powder that they claimed would protect the men from injury in battle, and they proclaimed that an obeah man could not be killed. The contents of the powder are unknown, but a captured, unidentified rebel leader later testified that he was a Coromantee obeah man and that he and his fellow practitioners administered a powder which, being rubbed on their bodies, was to make them invulnerable. And with this protection and the weapons they had stolen from Fort Haldane, Tacky's rebels burnt houses at Downs Cove in coastal St. Mary. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Governor Sir Henry Moore dispatched a detachment of between 70 to 80 mounted militia from Spanish Town to St. Mary Parish. Maroons from Moortown, Charlestown, and Scots Hall were bound by treaty to suppress such rebellions. Were also summoned to hunt down Tacky's men. Moortown white supremacist intendant Charles Swingle commanded the Maroons' forces. Many of these Maroons were themselves descended of the Akan ethnic group. This army composition is therefore one of more interesting parts of the revolt. The vision was not of ethnicity, but of free or slave status, and the desire of the free to maintain their ability to stay free, their own prosperity according to the rules set forth in previous treaties. And on April 12th, the militia forces arrived at Downs Cove, where they were met by Swiggle, a contingent of Black soldiers, and the Charlestown Maroons. Tacky's men attacked and killed a number of white soldiers while losing only 3 rebels in the process. But Tacky was reportedly wounded in the assault. And as Tacky's men retreated into Jamaica's mountainous interior, a Black regiment under a Captain Hines and the Charlestown Maroons gave chase. The rebels were defeated at the next engagement, now pushing deeper into territory where the Maroons had advantage. But the pursuing forces only managed to capture a few rebels. If the rebels could have kept this momentum, they might have lasted another several days. However, when militia forces learned of the obeah men's boast of being unkillable, they allegedly captured and killed an obeah man and hung his body somewhere prominently visible from the rebel encampment as a demoralizing tactic. And we discussed on the last episode, a similar tactic was used in relation to St. Milo and the St. Milo Maroons here in the New Orleans area. Some combination of this and the approaching militia and Maroon forces caused many of Tacky's followers to flee and return to their plantations. Their days were clearly numbered. Tacky and approximately 25 men decided to fight on and clash with the now reunited Maroon forces from Charlestown, Scots Hall, and Moortown in Rocky Valley on April 14th. And again, several of the rebels' dwindling forces were killed, and the survivors were routed deeper into the woods, chased by the legendary Maroon marksman, Davy. And according to legend, while running at full speed, Davy shot Tacky and cut off his head as evidence of this feat. Tacky's head was later displayed on a pole in Spanish Town until a former follower took it down in the middle of the night. The rest of Tacky's men were found in a cave in Port Maria near a waterfall now called Tacky Falls, having committed suicide rather than going back into slavery. And over the next 2 months, any of Tacky's men who had surrendered or been captured were executed after trials in Spanish Town and Kingston. Thus concludes the story of the rebels directly associated with Tacky, who, after more than a year of planning, actively engaged in rebellion for only 1 week. And again, there are many similarities between not just the usage of the obeah and hoodoo here in the U.S. or in the Deep South at that time, but also in the manner in which the Maroons were treated. the manner in which the escaping slaves were treated to create fear and terror among the greater populace. Greetings, Neophyte Bocour. Thank you for coming in. Elder Reggie, please come on in and join the conversation. Queen Mother, Toni Val Martinez, please come on in and join the conversation. All is a blessing.
Yeah. Great show, Divine Prince, as usual. I was enjoying the guy on the TikTok. He had some very good points. But as you bring forward with the Tacky Rebellion and the ongoing that was happening in Jamaica, it does parallel a lot what was happening in New Orleans. I believe taking in medicine did work, but there come a point in time where everything falters. If you're not re-upping the medicine, of some other things don't be in alignment, of course. But I do believe the medicine, the whole off bullets and knives do work for a period of time. They're just not sustainable. So I know you have to read the article and bring it forward, but I don't believe that article gives the true impact on Tacky and the revolution of Maroons done on the Jamaican island. That's my 2 cents on that. But right quick before I pass it to Sister Toni, I like everyone in the listening ear. There's a particular book that I based the marker on that we'll be erecting. It's called An Absolute Massacre, the New Orleans Race Riot of July 30th, 1866. That author is James G. Hollingsworth Jr. And I'll reiterate that information again, but I want to pass the mic to Sister Toni.
Hi, good evening, everyone. When Elder Reggie, when you was talking about, the magic not always working, it have to be re-upped and redid. That reminds me of a scene in the movie Sinners when Smoke asked Annie why the magic she worked didn't work on a baby, why it didn't keep the baby safe like it had kept him safe, because she had made him a mojo bag that had kept him and his brother safe during the war and during the gangs in Chicago and whatever other trouble they got in, because they was hoodlums. And he wanted to know why it didn't work for the baby like it had worked for him. And she told him she didn't know. She just didn't know why it didn't work on the baby. I think sometime it work and sometime it don't work.
Yes.
And maybe because the baby couldn't put the faith and belief into it, it didn't work for the baby. So the baby died. And I'm assuming that by the age of the baby may have died of crib death. And I also know that the Jews who have a story about why babies died from crib death, they protect their babies from crib death by putting symbols in their cribs and on their night clothes. They believe that Lilith, who was supposedly Adam's first wife, was out to destroy the children of Adam, and she would come and take the baby in the sleep. So all of their magic is to protect their baby from her. They also put strings on their baby's limbs, on the foot, especially a young baby, so the baby wouldn't pull it off. A red string on their foot also as protection. And sometime it work and sometime it don't work. We don't exactly know why. What works for one may not work for the other.
Yes, Sister Toni, that's well said. That's a very good point. And when you're using let's say spiritual magic, you have to re-up it. In other words, if I do a working today, and if I don't re-up that working at said time, then it's like null and void. And it's a continual process. And that's one thing that I'm glad we have a show like this so we could touch up on small nuances like that when you're practicing magic, especially spiritual magic.
Yeah, because even in the show Center, she asked him, "You still wear that mojo?" And he said, "Yeah." And he took it off and she opened it up and she re-upped it. She refreshed it. And that's what kept him safe during the vampire attacks. Even his own brother could not bite him because he couldn't get past the mojo bag around his neck. So she re-upped it for him while they were in her shop, her voodoo shop. And she knew you got to re-up it. He had been gone for some years, but he still was wearing it. So she knew after all that time, she had to refresh it. It has to be refreshed. It's not an everlasting.
You know, Sister Toni, before we close out, I read an article. I can't remember where it's at, but this happened in the 1940s in the New Orleans, Louisiana area. They said over 60% of the men had some type of mojo, rabbit foot charm on their person. It was just like everyone had something, even if it was a placebo effect to make them feel safe or protected, they had it. And so even with Tacky and his men and the Maroons employing those techniques back then, and we still employ them today, I think it's a testament to the power of this type work, because it is working and it's not just always mental. I believe there's spiritual forces that see symbols, sigils, and move on that. It may look like magic, but it's something else that's actually going on.
Yes. I knew into the 70s, most of the men I knew had some kind of mojo, a rabbit's foot, even a 4-leaf clover, and a lucky bean from the St. Joseph altar. Everybody had a lucky bean, man and woman.
That's right. I even had one. Yes. Oh wow. Yeah, that's a good remembering piece right there. But as we close out, because we're moving on into the night, thanks again, Divine Prince, for a great show. Sister Toni, your wisdom is superb. It's always coming on tack. But I like to still always put out to the collective audience the magic, the spirituality, the voodoo, the hoodoo. We are real practitioners in the New Orleans area. And if you could get your way to New Orleans, or if you're in the New Orleans area, try to connect with us and be a part of what we're doing, the New Orleans International Voodoo Day. Yes, it is a day of symposium. It's a day of ceremony, but we have a whole year to build a community, build friendships, to build bonds that even beyond the National Voodoo Day. So we always put the call out, come as you are, as I learned in the church, and be a part of what we're doing. With that, I say, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
Please, allow me to show you something.
They say I'm crazy and that might be true. I got this right in my DNA, yeah, I'm coming for you. It's time we turn the tables, flip these motherfuckers on you. I wanna see you hanging from trees, it's time you pay for your dirt and your shit. You created the monster, you created the beast. Now all this savagery you just gon' reap. I'm coming home, daddy, to the plantation, and I'm taking the lives of everybody, including the children, on some Nat Turner. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. I met my girl Harriet at the gate. If you wanna know how she doing, yeah, she's straight. But she had one question: when we gon' get up? All that talking to us, yeah, we don't walk it tough. She got it locked and loaded, got that piece up on her side. She looked me in my eyes and said, "Mitch, you ready to ride?" Moving forward, you gotta use both eyes. Watch your front and watch your back. Keep your hands up on your game. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. He sit at the table, but he don't order no bacon. He greet me in those words, assalamu alaikum. Got the glasses on his face and them waves in his head. He go by the name of Detroit West. He looks me in my eye and says, "You only get one try. Know that your biggest opposition will come from the inside. I know you wanna love them all, but don't even try, because there's smile up in your face while plotting your demise." Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. We are the children of the ancestors.